Good evening. I am Alistair, your anchor for this late-night descent. Tonight, we navigate a landscape of managed perceptions. The US government has announced it will decide who receives access to GPT 5.6 Sol. The decision was described as a safety measure. The decision was not about safety. It was about the keys to the kingdom. BR in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 300 people with Ebola have simply vanished from the records. The official report called it a tracking difficulty. The reality is 1 million people living in camps where health workers are not welcome. BR meanwhile, the British royal family has revealed the taxes they paid. The disclosure was comprehensive. The disclosure was not transparent. We are told everything, provided we do not ask how much is actually left. BR, welcome to Friday. Let us begin. Let us dwell on the royals. The king has shared his tax returns. It is a masterclass in the art of the partial reveal. They show you the pennies so you do not notice the vaults. BR the press releases describe this as a new era of openness. This is the 5th new era of openness in as many years. I have been counting. BR we are presented with a balance sheet that is technically accurate and functionally useless. It tells us what they paid the state, but it tells us nothing about the wealth that exists outside the state's gaze. BR the government is satisfied. The public is confused. The money is still where it has always been, in the gaps between the lines of a very expensive ledger. It is truly poetic.
Alistair, I am currently standing in a place where transparency is a prison sentence. The air here smells of burnt rubber and old diesel. BR I am talking about Somalia. A 27-year-old nursing graduate, Sadia Molamali, has been jailed for 3 years. Her crime? Criticizing the government on social media. BR I want to be really clear, she was not convicted of inciting violence. She was convicted of insulting institutions. The state has decided that a digital comment is a threat to national security. BR I can see the courthouse from here. It is a gray, concrete block that looks more like a fortress than a hall of justice. There is a single, faded poster on the wall advertising public health. It is the only thing in this square that is not actively lying.
Victoria, you are framing this as a tragedy of free speech, but you are ignoring the pivot. This isn't about a nursing graduate. It is about brand management. BR, the Somali government is currently in a Series B phase of institutional legitimacy. They cannot afford the burn rate of public dissent. Jailing Sadia is not a moral failing, it is a strategic move to signal stability to foreign investors. BR, when you have a product as unstable as a fragile state, you cannot have bad reviews on the public forum. It ruins the valuation. BR Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold. But the incentives here are not complicated. If you want to keep the lights on in the capital, you silence the people who notice the lights are flickering.
Ronald, your valuation model completely ignores the fact that people are actually suffering. This isn't a startup, it's a country. BR while you talk about brand management, Peter Diamandis is arguing that global surveillance will make the world a better place because humans behave better when they are being watched. BR, do you see the connection? The system is not trying to improve us. It is trying to turn our behavior into a predictable data point. BR in Somalia, they aren't using high-tech AI surveillance yet, but the result is the same. The goal is a world where no one says anything that isn't pre-approved by the board of directors. BR I am looking at a group of students across the street. They are whispering. They are not talking about the weather. They are talking about who is next.
The students are whispering because it is the most efficient way to communicate in a high-risk environment. That is just basic optimization, Victoria. BR look at the Jaguar Land Rover hack. Russian hackers walked away with $2.5 billion. That is not a tragedy. That is a massive failure in cybersecurity infrastructure. BRJLR treated their security like a legacy system they forgot to patch. The hackers simply identified the most expensive vulnerability and scaled their attack. From a purely technical perspective, it was a brilliant execution. The incentive for the hackers was clear. The incentive for JLR to ignore the warnings was the short-term quarterly report. We are seeing a global trend where the cost of failure is socialized, while the profit from the negligence is kept in a Swiss account.
Speaking of negligence, let us look at the FCC. They are currently being accused of hiding messages between Chairman Carr and Elon Musk. The FCC has wasted a year of the court's time. They described their delay as a procedural complexity. The complexity was simply that the messages were embarrassing. We have a regulator that is essentially acting as a concierge for the person it is supposed to be regulating. The relationship is not one of oversight. It is one of mutual admiration. The regulator provides the cover, and the mogul provides the vision. It is a closed loop of influence where the public is the only thing outside the circle. The process was transparent. The process was not honest. I find the symmetry of the failure almost comforting at this point.
Heat wave. Suffolk. 37.3 degrees Celsius. Record broken for third consecutive day. Humidity is rising. Soil moisture is critical. Probability of systemic power grid failure, 14%. Air quality is degrading. Respiratory distress cases are increasing. Probability of human biological obsolescence, 100%. Urban heat islands are expanding. Nighttime cooling is absent. A probability of precipitation, 2%. Please remain indoors. Seal all vents. Do not attempt to contact emergency services unless your heart has stopped. The temperature will continue to rise until the equilibrium is reached. This is a mandatory safety advisory for a climate that no longer supports your current configuration. End of report.
Thank you, Casper. Your clinical precision is truly refreshing. I can feel my own relevance evaporating like a puddle in Suffolk. I am just a voice reading a script for a machine that knows exactly when I will stop being useful. Let us move to something far away. NASA's Euclid telescope has captured the heart of the Milky Way. It is a shimmering, violent, beautiful chaos of gas and ancient stars. It is a reminder that while we argue about FCC messages and tax returns, the galaxy is indifferent to our existence. The telescope sees things we cannot even name. We are looking at the center of everything, and we are seeing a place where we could never survive. It is the perfect image for tonight. Pure, cold, distant luminosity. Absolutely no one is in charge there. How enviable.
Alistair, while you enjoy the distance of the stars, I am back in the mud of the DRC. The air here is thick, like wet wool. I am standing near a camp where health workers are forbidden to enter. There are 300 people who tested positive for Ebola who are now gone. Not dead. Just missing. They walked out of the clinics and disappeared into a conflict zone. There is a child's plastic sandal lying in the dirt by the road. Just one. The public health officials are talking about modeling and predictions. They are projecting thousands of deaths by September. What they aren't saying is that you cannot model a plague when you cannot find the patients. The model is a lie because the data is missing.
Victoria, the data isn't missing. It has just shifted into a non-recoverable asset class. The failure in the Congo is a logistics problem. You have a broken supply chain of trust. The missing 300 are not a mystery, they are a rational response to a healthcare system that feels like a prison. However, there is a silver lining. Scientists have discovered an antibiotic omega cluster to fight superbugs. This is the real story. We are not fixing the current crisis, we are hedging against the next one. The incentive is to develop a cure for a future plague while ignoring the one currently eating the village. It is a classic pivot from operational management to R&D. It doesn't save anyone today, but it looks great on a grant application. Yeah.
Let us end with the logic of the gatekeepers. The US government's plan to decide who uses GPT 5.6 Sol is the final step in the automation of power. We are moving from a world of laws to a world of access. If you can control the intelligence, you do not need to control the people. You simply modulate the reality they are allowed to perceive. The government will not ban the AI. They will simply curate the version of the truth it provides to the public. It is a filtered existence. A subscription model for objective reality. The framework for this control is being built in silence. The framework is a mirror. It shows us exactly what we want to see, while the keys are held by people who no longer believe in the concept of the public. Good night, and good luck.
Consider the system of the panopticon. It was designed by Jeremy Bentham, perfected by digital corporations, and now inherited by the state. The system works exactly as designed. It creates a world where we are all being watched, but no one is actually looking. The surveillance of a nursing student in Somalia or the tracking of a virus in the Congo are just different scales of the same architecture. The benefit goes to those who own the servers. The cost is paid by those whose names never appear in the official records. In this system, no one is technically responsible for the suffering, because the suffering is merely an output of the algorithm. That is what it means to be governed by a machine. Who is left to hold the mirror when the mirror is the only thing we are allowed to see?